Probably aware I do fish IVLs quite a lot, and again I am back there. Now I've drawn peg 26 on Willow. Now this match did excite me a little bit because there's not a huge amount of matches on Willow because it's more of like a specimen lake. Don't get me wrong, there are a few matches on there, but obviously if there is an open match on there, my strong suggestion to you is to get on it because it is something quite special. Now, I'm not paid commission or any sort of plug. I fish where I want, and as you're probably aware, if you'll, watch this channel a little bit, I do go to IVLs quite a lot. And as you can see, I've got a very angry carp on. The lake's only about 4.5 foot deep. Peg 34 is probably the deepest peg on this lake. To be fair, it won't be the deepest peg on the complex because the specimen lake's quite deep, to be fair, in places about 8 foot. But the peg 34 maybe 6 foot, but the rest of the lake, most of it's like about 4.5 foot deep. So the fish do kite off quite quick, and they are big and powerful, as you may or may not be aware of. So peg 26, not really the first choice of pegs I would have, to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad peg. I mean, gosh, I've weighed 166 pounds today, and I've been very lucky to get my section by triple default. I fish bits of paste, and I try to be clever and trying to catch both, really. I had a beautiful day's fishing. I've weighed, like I just said, 166 pound in total, and I've had 37 pound in that of skimmers. I believe I had 11 carp, so take 37 pound away from 169, and if my maths is right, that is 132. So as you can see, the fish are pretty big. I've had a couple of fish at probably about 15-16 pound, so happy days. And to be honest with you, they were probably a bit easier to get in than the sort of like 10 pounders and stuff. I had one ghosty which was interesting to say the least. I couldn't quite figure out the feeding. I mean, it's a little bit awkward really because I wanted to try and win the silvers, but at the same time I didn't want to like give it, fish such a negative match that I didn't give myself a chance of winning the match. But watching Rob Guppy on peg 22 and Mark Popperton on peg 21, oh my gosh, they were catching really well, and again they were catching on paste. I just couldn't quite figure it all out, to be honest with you. Big potting was definitely a way to go. I mean, Mark and Rob didn't really big pot that often that I can see. I might be wrong, and if I am, then I apologise, but I fed about 5 bags of Fishery pellets. So I did properly give them some feed. So that's not all just on one line. I have fed it down the edge, which unfortunately I failed to catch, but I have fed quite a lot of bait. And to be honest with you, I feel I should have fed definitely more, and I feel I should have fed more corn as well. It's definitely a mistake. Live and learn. I think I should have just fed more softened 6 mils and definitely more corn because the skimmers were ravenous. Don't be forgetting to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So loads and loads of skimmers, and to be fair, the fish sort of averaged, I don't know, small 6 ounce, 8 ounce, very odd 10 ouncer. Probably the biggest one I had was maybe just over a pound. So I've had a lot of bites and obviously had a few carp in between. Wasted a bit of time fishing down the edge. I mean, I've got 2 empty pegs to my left, so that's one of my better skimmers. That's about 10 ounces. And the thing is, I feel like on this lake, because it doesn't get fished that often, matches this time of year, then obviously I never find them skimmers, they are hungry fish. So like I say about big potting, and it was definitely better than fishing it out. I feel I should have fished more dripping in, bits of bait while you're cupping in your paste, probably wasn't quite right, to be honest. Also, when you big pot it, and then fish around it. Don't fish right on top of it, otherwise, undoubtedly, you're going to suffer from foul lookers. And also, because there's an 8-inch limit of line, when you're fishing pace, make sure you've probably got a 10-inch lash between your float and what do we call it? Your float. Sorry, 10 inches of line between your pole tip and your float. Let's start again. So 8 inches is the minimum lash. I'd suggest using a 12-inch lash between the float and the pole tip to begin with, because I can almost guarantee, because the lake's a little bit silty, they are going to root around. So what you'll find is you have to move your float up potentially by a couple of inches. Yeah, I've even fed a bit of bait down the edge there because I noticed a few carp milling in near my nets. Failed to catch one. And I've moved the tree slightly, like a little branch and a bit of reeds to my left, and I could get down to the pallet, which would be on peg 27, but again, failed to catch. There's just so many roach there. I feel I should have fed maybe more corn. I think maybe looking back at it, big potting like micros and maggots, even though I fed 4 pints of maggots, and probably a good bag and a half of micros, I don't think that was enough, because the roach just been ravenous. I just think they just ate it all. So I feel I should have fed a bit more. Don't get me wrong, we've had a real hot spell. This lake hasn't been fished for a bit, so therefore, what do you call it? I think the fish were just really, really hungry, to be honest. Well, look at the weights. The weights were incredible. On this lake especially. There was 333 pounds. Mark Popson just weighed just over 250. All the weights are next. And then there was 166, 165, 156. So yeah, it was really good. And the match lakes fish pretty well as well. I believe Steve Waters has won that with 180. And again, the backup weights are good. So it's not like someone's just catching a massive weight and then there's nothing else really being caught. So yeah, I've had a really good day's fishing. Glad I went, because at one stage last night, or the night before, I felt I wasn't going to bother going. A bit tired, out with the boys quite late at the pub having a mixed grill. Happy days. So yeah, very pleased that I went, especially when I found out it was on Willow. And as you can see, this fish is it's quite a big fish. This is probably a good sort of like 12 pound. They just fished 020 straight through on the Maver MVR line. And then I've got the tricore elastic, the yellow. It was a tiny bit too tough for the skimmers. I did drop it down to like a 1.8 mil elastic, which was good, but then trouble is you hook the carp and they took a while to get out. I didn't actually lose any, but it was quite challenging getting some of these fish in on quite light elastic. As you can see, that's quite a big fish. So the weight limits in the nets are 60 pounds, so with the fish being so big like that, it's sort of, you only really want to put 50 in. It gives you a little bit of leeway as well. And also with big fish like that, you're only pitting about, well, I had 3 nets in and I had 11 fish. And obviously a skimmer net as well, so 4 nets. There's all the weights, so it might be worth pausing it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you soon.